In this video, we'll talk about the brain of an insomniac. When it comes to the function of the mind, it's an interesting scientific standpoint that scientists continue to do research in. They continue to look towards the functions of all the brainwaves and how all the thoughts interact during the day and night. During every hour of the day, the mind is able to adapt itself to any situation. Whether the mind is trying to get food, get a drink, get out of the car, walking through a door, or just get some rest, the mind constantly will try to find new ways to survive and flourish. It will continue through the cycle of getting enough resources during the day and then have enough energy to heal and rest during the night. Normally, people will have a normal level of brainwaves where the mind will stop thinking as quickly and will prepare for the night by shutting down parts of the mind's thought process. The farther into the nighttime goes, the more the mind is slowing down and becoming capable of getting another night of full rest. This is the reason why a person will find it harder to get through their job or any kind of work later on in the night. Studies show that the process of the mind will naturally change throughout the day, and sometimes it will cause a major form of anxiety inside the mind. This is where the mind will become stressed enough to the point where the brain waves will not slow down, and therefore the mind will not be able to completely relax later on in the night. Instead, it will go through a period where the brain waves will move faster to cause more thoughts and more energy needed to be consumed. The same amount of resources that are collected during the day will need to be taken in at night. The body will then run through twice the amount of energy and resources and cause the person to have a lack of energy within their own life. As for the mind and how the brainwaves respond to the phases of insomnia, there have been 3 different studies done to see how the mind will react during the night. Scientists have known that the learning and memory functions of the brain have a majority of control with causing a person to go to sleep. The more a person learns during the day, the more energy they are utilizing that day and the more energy they are gaining overall. The more a person forms memories inside of their own life, the more the mind will have dreams during the night. The ability to have a larger variety of dreams during the night allows for the mind to calm down and use the images to enforce more of a positive image inside of the person. The mind wants the body to be calm during the night, and the best way to do that is by looking through the happy memories that the person has gone through. Whenever you see a loved one inside of your dream, you smile, you are happier, and your body relaxes more. For a person with insomnia, the mind during the night runs faster and has more trouble getting to the same kind of calm and relaxing state. The mind will be just as active during the day as it is at night. In one of the studies about brainwaves during insomnia, scientists were able to see that the neurons inside of the mind are more active at night inside of the mind of a person who has chronic insomnia. The neurons travel around the mind faster and cause more thoughts to pass through the mind at night. Therefore, the person goes through a period where they are in a constant state of information processing that does not stop at any point during the whole day. This causes the insomnia, since the person will not be able to have enough sleep or rest to remain stable. Inside of the study, the researchers were telling others that insomnia should not be seen directly as a nighttime disorder. Instead, it's more of a 24-hour brain condition that causes the mind to stay on. This small amount of time where the mind does not have enough rest during one night interferes with the memory inside of the brain. It does not affect the memory of the person in the long run. Instead, it makes the next day after one night of no sleep much harder. The person will have a harder time concentrating, remembering small facts, and remembering information that is told directly to them the same day. To test out this theory, they compared the test scores of students that had a full night of sleep versus students that did not have any sleep the night before. The students who had more sleep were able to focus on more parts of the question at once, and they were able to remember more of their choices on the test a few hours after it was over. The idea of this experiment was to measure out the amount of the mind that requires rest in order to remain focused throughout the day. When a person has insomnia, they are not able to go through and have the same level of concentration. Some people believe that since their mind will be functioning just as quickly at night when they have insomnia, they believe they can have more focus the next day. The experiment done during this research disproves this thought. Just because the mind is as active at night as it is during the day when it has insomnia does not mean that that is a good idea to rely upon. Not only does it build up the lack of concentration in the mind, but it will also build up the amount of plasticity inside of the brain. The research on what the plasticity is and how it contributes to the state of insomnia is still unknown. They do know that the plasticity of the mind does build up throughout a person's life, and it does contribute to other forms of disease later on in a person's life. The more plasticity that exists inside of the mind, the less chance a person has to remember memories overall. Not only in a short-term basis, but in a long-term basis as well. It's harder for the mind to hold on to all the levels of concentration and memory when a person has reached an elderly age. A mind during that age will naturally slow down, and it will slow down at a faster rate if there's more plasticity inside of the brain. The second area of research in insomnia surrounded the idea of a person constantly having stress or constantly worrying. They were investigating how, if a person has a stressful life and then gets insomnia, how the mind will respond at night. The first fact that they were able to see immediately was that the cognitive function of the mind does not change, whether a person is suffering from insomnia or if they are sleeping all right. However, they were able to support the idea that the mind with insomnia does not have the same amount of functions throughout the day. The main parts of their research were able to show that the mind wanders throughout the night. People who have insomnia will be thinking at night, but that does not mean that they will be thinking about a specific subject. The mind not only has trouble concentrating the next day, but the mind will have trouble concentrating on the different areas of work happening during the nights where the person does not have enough sleep. Not only that, but the mind will continue to use energy during the day that it should be resting. Not having the energy to function during the day makes it harder for them to perform at a higher level. The next part of the same research compared the memory function to the tasks of efficiency that the person will naturally go through in any part of the day. When a person goes through the troubling states of insomnia, they will not be able to remember a larger portion of memories during the day. Since the memories could not be immediately remembered, the tasks during their lives were harder. The minds would wander around whenever they had to do simple tasks of the day. The mind's brainwaves will be slower and will cause the person to move at a slower pace and quickly forget the information in front of them. The brain will attempt to be active, but there will not be enough resources for the brain to go through. Therefore, the mind will exhaust itself every day during the stages of insomnia. The third and last scientific study that occurred to study insomnia was the idea of gray matter inside the brain. The main thing to know is that gray matter exists in the frontal lobe and controls the processes of memory and executive function. When a person does not have enough sleep at night, they will have a large decrease in the amount of gray matter. Whether the person is suffering from insomnia or if they are having trouble sleeping overall, they will start to slowly develop symptoms of depression or trauma. The person with insomnia will not only have to deal with the exhaustion of not having enough energy, but they will go through the harsh areas of stress in the mind. The best way to resolve this issue is to consult a doctor and see what kind of medicine would be best for your own personal case. Overall, the mind has to gain enough sleep and rest to have a proper amount of concentration. Going through insomnia will simply elongate the amount of time that the body does not get rest. It will cause the brain waves to keep moving faster throughout the brain, and it will cause the mind to slowly lose the purpose of memory. The important thing to remember is to get enough nutrition and to get enough sleep every night. No matter how difficult it is to find a balance, it is important to have a high level of concentration every day to have the most amount of memory function. In this video, we'll talk about sleep-starved, the devil. The mind and body both need to have rest in order to function and to have a full amount of concentration the next day. If there's no rest, then the gray matter, memory, and elaborate functions of the mind will result in the person not being able to get through the day. Their mind will wander, and they will not think through all the steps needed to get through the day. The first thing to do right now is think about all the things you do the moment you wake up in the morning. Think about the first 5 things that you do. You might turn off the alarm clock, check the phone, stand up, turn on the light, and walk to the bathroom. No matter what your normal routine is, all of these things do not require very much thought. All of these things in the morning are easy to do since they occur every day. When you are facing the troubles of insomnia, you're not nearly as focused as you normally are. The mind is continuing to think as fast as it normally would, but it does not have all of the resources to have enough energy to properly function. This means that your first 5 things you do in the morning may not all be remembered, or they might take longer to complete. It might take you only 2 minutes to do all of your first 5 actions in the morning, when it might take 10 minutes to complete your first 5 morning actions when having insomnia. You might also forget to do a task or two. You might forget to turn off the alarm, and you might forget to check your phone for any updates. Many different things can happen, but overall, this is only the start for what happens when you're struggling with insomnia. After the first night facing insomnia, you might notice a major difference in the amount of energy you have. You might notice how difficult it is to think about the next thing to do during the day, or you might find it more difficult to remember all the information during the day. Other people around you will not realize all of these things happening to you. Normally, your day might be to wake up, get ready for work, and then go shopping afterwards. At work, you have to be able to function at a very high level of efficiency. No matter how exhausted you might feel, there are only a certain amount of days that you will be given sympathy. There are only a certain amount of sick days that you're allowed to take off. Insomnia cannot take over your life, but it can cause a major portion of it to stop. In your own job, you're expected to go forwards and complete a certain amount of work. Whether you are in charge of packing boxes, doing research, or writing a paper, you have to be at the top almost every day. You have to perform close to your own highest level in order to truly earn the paycheck at the end of the week. Any small amount of rest that is taken away during the night can cause a problem. But it may not be enough to completely take you away from the focus of the job. For example, instead of getting 8 hours of sleep, you only get 6 hours of sleep. Those 2 hours of sleep are very important, but they will not do as much damage to your life as insomnia. Losing 2 hours of sleep might make you move slower, but you're still able to focus and get all the tasks of the day done to your own fullest potential. Losing an entire night of sleep basically causes a person to stop thinking. They will go through the day struggling with the focus on any task. They will go through and have trouble reading a question while thinking about an answer. The mind will be concentrated on reading each word rather than putting the information together to figure out how to answer the question. Insomnia can affect your work performance. All you are thinking about is to get the task done. You are thinking about the fastest way to get through the day rather than thinking about the best way to get through the day. At first, this seems all right to do because you're still completing all the work and getting the job done. The real problem occurs with your own reputation in the job. Your boss will see that you're working at a slower rate, that you're not focusing as much, and that you're not having the right attitude to get through the job. This can really put you in the wrong spot where your boss might stop you from working that day and might even fire you from the job. Now, while this might not happen, it still has a possibility of happening. Insomnia is a distressing factor to life that not only can cause someone trouble in the workplace, but in their own life at home. When you think about your home, think about all the important parts of your own home. You might think about your wife, husband, children, pets, or all these aspects. Some people might also think about their garden or their own remodeling project that they've been working on. There's no right or wrong answer as to what's important inside of your own home. It's your own life, and it's a very important factor to keep balanced. Many things that happen every day you probably do not even really think about. The simple things such as getting everyone ready for the day, getting into the car, going somewhere to eat, or making sure that everyone has what they need are all things that continuously happen. They become easier as time passes since everyone works together in a balance to ensure that everyone is ready for their own day. Normally this is easy to do, but having insomnia makes it much more difficult. The moment a person's family life or their home life starts to get off balance, it becomes very stressful, and they begin to question if there is any way to get back to a steady state. It doesn't matter if the stress is coming from not having the groceries in time or waking up late. A small amount of stress can build to become something that is incredibly difficult to control. Insomnia causes a large amount of exhaustion where the person will not know exactly what should be done. They'll be running through the house not knowing what needs to happen since their own mind will be wandering around. There won't be any specific thoughts that appear in their mind. The same idea happened in the job where the time of not being focused can add up to a bad situation. If you are suffering from insomnia and need to make sure that your kids go to school, you might forget that they need to have their lunches packed. They need you to get enough rest to ensure that they have the proper support in order to get through their own day. If not, it becomes harder for them as a child, and then it becomes harder for you as a parent since you want to be the best for your own child. The moment you are suffering from insomnia, you will not be able to remember things very well, and you will have a harder time getting through the routine of your own house. If you miss a day of not cleaning the house, it's not the end of the world. If you start to make a habit of it and you forget to clean up around the house, then it will be harder to maintain your own home. A smell might start to develop and all the plants might be overgrown. All around your house, nothing will be kept at a clean level since the insomnia stops you from having the right amount of energy to go through any of these tasks. The last part of your home life is your relationship. Whether it's your partner, husband, wife, boyfriend, or girlfriend, being in a relationship is a job on its own. The moment your own significant other starts to seem different, where they are more tired or they're not focusing on you as much, things might get strange. Strange in the way where one person might start to feel lonelier, or they might start to feel as if things are getting complicated. All of these emotions can go very deep to the point where a large talk might need to happen. It's difficult when dealing with insomnia, where you do have to figure out how to live life with no actual energy inside of you. You'll feel tired all of the time, where you start to care less about things, and you will start to think about what should and should not be done in your own life. Think about how hard life is on its own. Imagine then adding in the fact that you are not getting any kind of rest, which is making you stop focusing and then is forcing you to stop concentrating on the important parts of your life. You might stop doing your job while at work. You might start forgetting about your children and what they need for school. You might start forgetting about all the little things you do for your own romantic partner. Many different things can happen when you are suffering from insomnia. Since there are many different outcomes, it's important to protect yourself from it and stop yourself from getting close to it.